Troglodyte warning. Today I have a really strange clip of a prayer service for the first day of Trump's time in office where the bishop calls Trump out and JD Vance for their hateful and divisive rhetoric. And also there was insane and childish response from Donald Trump. So let's get straight into the video.
Let me make one final plea, Mr. President. Millions have put their trust in you. And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of...
I love that passive aggressiveness. She knows who he is. His lies, his infidelity, his fraud, his taxes. He isn't a Christian by any measure of the standard. So her kind of subtly, passive aggressively calling him out on that, like, you know, embrace God. Trump, you claim to be a Christian. Actually embrace the values, because you don't.
Of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and trans...
JD Vance's reaction there. He is the real ghoul. He's the really transphobic, homophobic ghoul here. Like, Donald Trump doesn't really care about this stuff. He'll just say it just to get the votes. But JD Vance is the really hateful, transphobic ideologue here. And he's the one probably pushing for this stuff. The fact that they have rolled back trans rights. Officially now, there's only two genders, although they call them male and female. That's actually sex. But they're kind of erasing trans people. And we're setting a dangerous precedent, which this woman's calling out. But wait till you hear Donald Trump's response. It's truly insane.
Transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families. Some who fear for their lives.
It's a nice little subtle point as well. The fact that trans people have always existed and they transcend politics. It doesn't matter what your politics are, whether you're on the left or right. Trans people exist, and it shouldn't be a political issue. It shouldn't be like, oh, all trans people are these kind of crazy communist leftists. There's many trans people on the far right and the centre as there are on the far left. So it's a nice little subtle point there.
And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation.
It's really strange I said this video is strange for a key reason. It's strange to hear this rhetoric, to like a kindness, a compassion and empathy for immigrants who in America make up a huge part of the agricultural industry. They are a huge contributor to the economy. I mean, imagine taking American immigrants from the economy. It would collapse overnight. That's how intrinsic they are, especially to agriculture. So it's really strange to hear empathy, compassion, mercy, understanding, love thy neighbor. Very strange in a way.
But the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes.
That's just factually true. In America, you are citizens who were born in America are more likely to commit crime than migrants, immigrants, and asylum seekers, because they know how harsh the system is. So they're going to keep themselves on the down low, especially if they're illegal and they're undocumented. They keep themselves to themselves, they work hard, they contribute, and they add value. And the idea that he's lying about these, they're saying, oh, they're all criminals. They're coming over from insane asylums, lunatic asylums, that they're coming to... It's classic fascist rhetoric. And she's brave to call it out, because already Republicans are calling for her to be deported, which is insane. We live in insane times.
And our good neighbors They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away.
Bear in mind, I just want you to really think about the tone of how she's talking about this, like her delivery. Just think about, just think about the tone, and we'll come back to that.
And that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here.
Yeah, that's true compassion. I mean, America is a land of immigrants. It really is. It was built on immigration, literally. I mean, that's a country, if you could argue, really is. And a basic message of compassion, again, it's just weird to hear. You just don't hear it. When do you hear politicians talk about immigration in a way that these are people? Comment below if you hear it. I don't hear it, and it's deeply depressing.
Our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger, for we were all once strangers in this land.
I wonder what Trump's thinking now. What does he even? Obviously, he's not listening to this and actually thinking about that kind of symbolism of we are all strangers. We are all capable of being in that refugee's shoes, that war-torn religious persecution, persecution for being homosexual or trans. Like, they just have no empathy. And when you lose empathy, you're on the road to barbarism. Hannah Arendt said that as a famous quote. Once you lose empathy, you're on a dark road.
May God grant us the strength and courage to honor the dignity of every human being, to speak the truth to one another in love, and walk humbly with each other and our God for the good of all people in this nation and the world.
So I'm not religious at all, but that was quite touching to me. That to hear that is a beautiful message. And people say, oh, it's naive. Not really. I mean, to treat people with respect that you'd want people to treat you, I think is a basic human right. But maybe, I'm asking too much there. So what was Donald Trump's response? Well, let's get into his truth social reply. So the so-called, oh my God, already, so-called bishop who spoke at the National Prayer Service on Tuesday morning was a radical left hardline Trump hater. So she hates Trump because she's seeking compassion and mercy for trans people, trans children, and immigrants who contribute to the American economy. How is that so? I mean, I would even say what she's saying is radical, like economically radical. I would say she's pretty center ground of just saying this hateful rhetoric is divisive, it's polarizing, it's tearing the country apart. Trump, Farage, Bolsonaro, a few years ago, across the world, you have these far right figures just seeking to polarize people and divide people based on gender, sexuality, immigrant status, native citizen, and it's a very moderate response, really. So she brought her church into the world of politics. I'm sorry, the church has always been political, always will be, and you can't avoid that in a way, in a very ungracious way. Ungracious? I thought she was very eloquent. I thought she was poetic, and it felt heartfelt to me. Like she was saying something that she believed in. She was nasty in tone. So come back to the tone. Was she nasty in tone? I think she's a very soft-spoken woman who has beliefs, who has integrity. I don't know what she does in her personal life, but I assume she's more, up and up than Donald Trump, to say the least, which is a pretty low bar. So nasty in tone and not compelling or smart. That's such a childish response, isn't it? Not compelling or smart. And Donald Trump is? Has Donald Trump said anything intelligent? He just says he's the great at everything and calls people insults. So Yeah. She failed to mention the large number of legal migrants that came into our country and killed people. Okay, what? How many of that? It's a very small minority. Like the idea that they're all coming over. Where's your data source for that? Where is that? And the people that do need to be sent to jail like anyone else. So again, can we embed this in facts, Donny? Many were deposited from jails and mental institutions. Well, how many? Again, he's just lying here. He doesn't care about the facts. He doesn't care about empathy, compassion, mercy, love, and the values of the church. He claims to be a Christian, but he's very selective. It is a giant crime wave that is taking place in the USA. Again, simply not true. This is a right wing talking point. They're obsessed with exaggerating crime rates. In America and the UK, over the last 30 years, overall, the crime has just been plummeting. It really has. Certain crimes have gone up, cybercrime, knife crime in the UK, but overall, crime is on a really steep decline. And that's a good thing that we need to celebrate. We've got a long way to go, but we need to actually look at the data and not just scaremonger about this epidemic of crime. So, apart from her inappropriate statements, what was inappropriate? To call for compassion and understanding and treat these people like humans? Like, what was inappropriate? The surface was very boring and uninspiring one. What? Because she's not stirring up hate and division and just demonizing people and just lying. She's not very good at her job. Just childish. Just so childish. She and the church owe the public an apology. Apologize for what? Speaking the truth? Have an opinion? Caring about people? Actually calling out to their face their divisive and hateful rhetoric? No, she better not. I know she won't, and I'm glad she won't because this is the we're only seeing this is the start. We're in the first week of his presidency, and we're already seeing deportation of Cubans. We're seeing just hateful rhetoric. They're trying to roll back DEI, which is a racist dog whistle for basically hiring black people. They're adding the A. They want to get rid of funding and resources for the disabled, and it's insane. So we need to call this out. So if you want to help me call this out, hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next video.